Hey guys, it's me Mr. 250, and welcome back to Umineko. New graphics card came in today. What's the first thing I do with it? Record a visual novel. Let's go. So, after that lovely event we had last time with Maria, in very, very long stream because I clicked one too many times, we'll now continue after Maria has brutally beaten her mother, and I guess go back to real world kids or something? We'll see. Oh, what was that? Whoops.
近いんじゃねえかみたいだね。いくつになっても落雷にはビクッとさせられるね。
Battler was looking at the dark night through a crack in the curtains. Every once in a while, a pale white lightning bolt would shine and he seemed to be enjoying it.
なんだよ、バトラが騒がしくしてるからマリアが起きちゃったじゃねえか。ごめんなマリア、バトラが騒がしくて。
なんだよ、俺のせいかよ。悪いなマリア、寝てていいぞ。おやすみな。
Maria was a bit hazy with drowsy eyes. She was probably half asleep and couldn't think straight.
もういい、寝ない。
いいから寝
Won't
て
sleep
る
after
って。
beating mother brutally.
まだ寝ぼけてるぜ。
寝ぼけてない。
なんだよ、もろに寝ぼけてるじゃねえか。寝てろ寝てろい。
寝ぼけてない、寝ぼけてない。
Oh gosh, Maria, please.
よせってバカバトラ。もう寝起きのこの機嫌を悪くするなんてバカだな。寝ぼけてない、寝ぼけてない。
Shut up, Maria. She gets worked up over everything.
わかってるよマリアちゃん。寝ぼけてなんかないよ。だから落ち着いて。寝ぼ
けてないもん、寝ぼけてない。
Oh man, even George can't console her now. Maybe it was because of her dubious mental state after waking up, but Maria suddenly threw a tantrum. Battler had only been trying to tease her a bit, so he was confused at this extreme overreaction. George held her head, trying to calm her down, but Maria's tantrum wasn't quelled easily. Battler and Jessica were trying to push the blame on each other, saying, "It's your fault too."
こら、二人とも静かにして。ジェシカちゃん、ポットにまだお湯があったよね。お茶でも入れてあげてくれる？落ち着いたマリアちゃん。
I don't need to be calm, I'm not half asleep. It looked like her tantrum was dying down bit by bit. But she still glared at Battler, who had made fun of her, with sharp eyes.
バトラ君もふざけて言っただけなんだよ。マリアちゃんが寝ぼけてるなんて思ってないよ。
Yeah, he does.
だから落ち着いて。ね。
George noticed. Maria was staring at Battler with incredible eyes. And, despite having just displayed all that emotion, she laughed in a small voice. No, Maria, why? Why? We had enough of you. Instead of laughing, it seemed more like she was muttering while considering, or else counting each he. As though each time she said he, something brutal would happen over and over. George felt something creepy for just an instant. The thought of his parents getting slaughtered? Nah, of course not. But he couldn't notice the madness that peeked out of the depths of the girl's eyes for only a moment. After he remained shocked for a short period of time, Maria stopped her bizarre quiet laugh and pushed George's arm aside as though telling him to let go.
許す。
そう。マリアちゃんは偉いな。
Such a good girl, especially with that evil laugh of
バトラ君、
yours.
マリアちゃんが許してくれたよ。 仲直りして。
ああ、悪いな、からかって。許してくれ。
ほらマリア、仲直りの印にカフェオレ作ってやったぜ。砂糖いっぱい入ってるから甘いぜ。
いらない。でも許すよ。魔女だからね。
Thanks, Maria. What does that have to do with forgiving people? One more time, Maria laughed in a creepy, quiet voice. But it was only for a very short time, so Battler and Jessica didn't think much of it. They decided to think that, probably. It had only looked that way when the lightning lit her cheek with a pale white light for an instant. At that time, they could hear the sound of loud footsteps coming from the hall. It was already past 10:30, late at night. Late at night is usually a time when you aren't to be disturbed. Hearing footsteps like that at this time wasn't very peaceful at all. Then, along with a clearly unrestful knock that repeated fiercely, they could hear Goda and Kumasawa's voices. That clearly told them that this was an abnormal situation, just an abnormal. Nothing really bad. I'm kicking down the door, everyone's getting mackerel. When George opened the door, the two of them tumbled in, sopping wet, covered in blood. It looked like they had dashed here from the mansion without an umbrella.
どうしたんだよ、二人とも。何があったんだ。
それが親方様が、旦那様が、皆様方が。
I'm surprised they actually got all the way here without getting caught in a hole. You know, I mean, like, okay, never mind. It was a pitch black room. There were no windows, and with the weak light bulb, one could just barely make out the state of things around them. It appeared to be an old, forgotten underground storehouse, with some kind of dusty furniture haphazardly thrown into it. However, even with just a little light, one could at least tell that it probably wasn't a storehouse, because that room was sealed off with iron bars.
ここはどこなの?
Okay, now, she's actually, yeah, Kiri is alive. I do remember that. She's alive, but she's now imprisoned wherever the heck they are. Yeah, these people are alive, unlike Rosa, who wasn't alive.
ここは屋敷の地下なのか。食堂の真下にこんな部屋があったのか。
They had dropped into what appeared to be a pit and fallen into the room. Therefore, it was appropriate to think that this room was directly under the dining hall. However, not even Cross could bring himself to believe that there were pitfalls rigged in the beloved dining hall, where he had enjoyed his meal for years, and that directly below it was this dungeon-like room. But the ceiling above was made of crude stone craftsmanship, and they could not understand how they could have fallen from somewhere up there. No. All 5 people who had been dropped here thought the same thing. Although they had the sensation of falling into a pit, there's no way they could be pitfalls in the dining hall, nor could this dungeon-like place be directly under it. But the truth was that they had actually fallen into this place and were locked in. And so, they had been confused.
あの高さから落ちて誰も怪我をしなかったのは幸運かもしれませんな。シャン、カノン、君たちはこんな部屋の存在は知っていたかね。
いえ、
僕たちもこのような部屋のことは存じかねます。
本当に？
本当です。本当にこの部屋知りません。
Despite their age, Kyrie apparently wouldn't have found it odd that, as servants allowed to wear the one-winged eagle, they might know of the mansion's secret tricks. There was a long silence as if Cross was evaluating their answer.
いや、シャノンたちが知らないのは事実だろう。何しろ綺麗好きのシャノンだ。彼女がこの部屋を知っていたなら、もっとピカピカに磨き上げているだろう。
Well, look at you, Cross, making jokes.
この部屋の汚さが君たちがこの部屋を知らないことの証だ。今はそんなことよりこれからどうするかの方が先決だと思うのか。その通りです。警察に、いえ、それから救急にも早く電話をしなきゃ。
Yeah, let's just find our nearest police call station down here in the deep dungeon. Nanjo's words were hollow. Obviously. 6 people had been killed in the dining hall. Everybody had seen the exact moment when they had been killed. Besides, since half of their heads had been destroyed, anyone could tell that the deaths had been instant with just a single glance. Everyone understood that first aid no longer held any meaning.
ありがとう、南條先生。私たちは伴侶がもう生きてはいないことを理解できてる。気休めでも救急と言い添えてくれてありがとう。
I hurt my finger. What are you talking about, your partners? Once again, a gloomy silence gained control of them. But Cross shook his head harshly over and over, and for the time being, decided to forget the pain of losing his wife, and to dedicate himself to figuring out where they were.
みんな聞きたまえ。親父はもうダメだ。口で言って理解や説明が求められる段階にもうない。
Nobody answered. Without any kind of discussion or mercy, 6 people had been killed in an instant. And Kinzo had even been so bold as to proclaim that we would become sacrifices for a ceremony involving 13 murderers. Since we've been locked up in this place, we too will probably become the ceremony's next sacrifices soon. Around this time, our eyes became used to the darkness, and bit by bit, we were able to understand more about the dungeon's interior. What we thought was furniture haphazardly left in the dungeon turned out not to be furniture at all. They were things like small cages to lock people in, restraints or else torture racks. Are you sure? I know there's Shannon and Cannon there. There's at least a little bit of furniture. At any rate, it was obvious that it was eerier than a mere jail cell. Since the objects were rusted together and coated in thick dust, there was no doubt that they had been forgotten. Maybe you could even call these things Kinzo's sealed and forgotten madness. However, we had been locked away in this room. Those objects weren't exactly comforting to people who were locked up, hoping to be released without harm.
とにかくここを抜け出そう。私たちは伴侶や友人を失い、涙を流すことに時間を費やしたいが、今はそれ以上に子供たちの身が心配だ。
お子様方はご無事でしょうか。
祈るしかない。そういえば熊沢さんと郷田さんはここにはいない。
The cowards.
ひょっとすると無事に逃げ延びられたのかも。
かもしれませんな。子供たちと合流しててくれれば心強いのですが。
郷田さんはいざという時頼りになるし、
Is Goda-san
熊沢さん
reliable?
は経験豊富で落ち着いてるし、
I don't know, he kind of starts to panic.
きっと 力になってくれると思います。
And Kumasawa isn't calm. She goes, ah, and then she like freaks out.
そうだといいがな。
Shannon and Cross smiled bitterly a little, but they quickly realized how improper that was and stopped, clearing their throats.
楽観はできないよ、姉さん。僕らに続いて、もう襲われてしまってる可能性だってある。
Shannon, you're not helping the
同
situation.
感ね。お父様が食堂で執行したのは魔女の碑文の第1の番の6人殺しなんでしょ。なら第2の番は寄り添いし2人を引き裂け、逃げ隠れて寄り添っている郷田さんと熊沢さんがもう殺されている可能性だって否定できないわ。
I don't think it quite means that, but I guess that's an interpretation of it.
きっとゲストハウスに合流してて子供たちを守ってくれているなんて楽観、現時点では全くできないわよ。
Kyrie coldly analyzed the worst case scenario. For her, it was heartbreaking to have lost her beloved husband. But right now, the most important thing was protecting that husband's son, along with the other children, from becoming the insane family's head sacrifice. She overcame her sadness with the parental urge to protect children from sorrow. It seemed that both Kyrie and Cross were strong enough to forget about their grief, if only for the time being. They would let their tears flow later. In order to protect the children, they had to act.
とにかくここを脱出しよう。相当古い牢屋のようだ。なんとか鉄格子を破れないだろうか。室内をくまなく探して脱出手段を探してみよう。
ここにはガラクタがいろいろあるわ。何か武器になるものがあるかもしれないし、鉄格子を破れるものがあるかもしれない。
Kyrie pulled a lighter from her pocket. She herself didn't smoke, but she kept one tucked away in her pocket to light Rudolph's cigarettes. It was an extremely valuable source of light for searching in this dim dungeon.
シャノンはキリエさんを手伝い、室内を探索してくれ。カノンは私と一緒に鉄格子の具合を確かめてみよう。これだけ古い牢屋だ。ひょっとするとガタが来ているかもしれない。
私は何をお手伝いしましょうか。
You go administer first aid.
体力を温存していてください。やがてここに親父殿が現れるだろう。親父殿に言葉が届くのは南條先生だけです。ある意味、南條先生に我々の命は握られているかもしれない。
私の言葉などもう届きはせんでしょう。
He can't hear you over the sounds of skulls being split in two.
申し訳ないが、そのお役には立てそうにない。
なら南條先生のお医者としての知識を貸してください。人間を即座に混沌させるような毒って存在するのかしら。
人間を即座に混沌させる毒？どういうことですか？
私たちは落とし穴に落とされてこの地下牢に落ちてきたと信じている。あの混乱している場で私たちはそうだったろうと信じたわ。でもこの地下牢の広さを測ってみて分かった。この地下牢があの食堂の地下というのはありえないことなのよ。
どうしてありえないってわかるんですか？
姉さんはバカだな。
Baka.
この地下牢は食堂に比べて狭すぎる。
その通り。1番目に落とされたのはクラウス兄さん、2番目が私。クラウス兄さんはこの部屋に落ちてきた時その場を動いたかしら。
お恥ずかしながら落下の痛みでうめいていたよ。そのすぐ傍らにキリエさんがすぐに落ちてきたんだ。
食堂でのクラウス兄さんと私の立ち位置と落下時の落下場所の距離が明らかにおかしいのよ。
確かに言われてみればその通りです。その次に落ちたのは私だから、お二人の位置関係はよく覚えている。 食堂でのお二人の間の距離はこの部屋よりもあったかもしれない。
私たちは落とし穴に落ちてダイレクトにここに落下したわ。集合する下水道管みたいに一度集められてからここに落ちたわけじゃない。落下は一瞬だったでしょ。そんな凝った排水管みたいな穴を転がされた覚えはないわ。
確かに落とし穴では説明がつかんな。おかしな話だ。
それとキリエ様のおっしゃる人間を即座に混沌させる毒というのはどう関係があるんですか？
Could be a reasonable explanation if, maybe there's some sort of drug they took that make them faint, but they also had a falling sensation. I don't know. Something like that.
キリエ様は多分食堂に落とし穴なんかなかったとお考えなんじゃないかな。
しかし現に私たちは落ちたぞ。
落とし穴に落ちたような気がするが正解よ。無理もないわ。そうとしか例えられない体験だったから。
なるほど。つまりこうおっしゃいたいわけですな。私たちは落とし穴に落とされたのではなく、例えば毒矢のようなもので撃たれ瞬時に意識を失い、その倒れて床に突っ伏す瞬間の記憶をまるで落とし穴に落ちたよと思い込んでしまっているのかもしれない。
Yeah.
なるほど。食堂に無数の落とし穴が仕掛けられていて、我々がそれに何十年も気づかず食事をしていたとする。
That makes so much more sense.
姉さん、時計はある？
うん。懐中時計があるわよ。22時40分くらいね。
僕の時計もそうなってる。つまり僕たちは食堂での大騒ぎから十数分も時間を経過させてないってことになる。
Unless, of course, whoever took you here set all your watches back to confuse you.
私の時計も同様だ。我々が混沌させられてどこかへ担ぎ込まれたと仮定するには、時間だけを見るならやはり我々は食堂の真下へ落とし穴で落とされたと考えるのが妥当だ。
時計の針なんていくらでもいじれるわ。
Exactly.
私たちが気絶している間に全員の時計を巻き戻したのかもしれない。その可能性がなかったことは証明不能よ。
落とし穴にせよ混沌させる毒に私たちは用心するに越したことはないというわけですな。
それで南條先生、混沌させる毒は存在するんですか？
それはキリエさんの論法と同じですな。私の知らない未知の毒物にそういう同様のものがないとは。
There you go. Back to the devil's proof again.
用心に越したことはないということね。ごめんなさい。無駄な質問だったわ。ただ私の仮説によりこの地下牢が食堂の真下とは限らないという可能性は示唆できたと思う。
なるほど。
Honestly, her hypothesis is probably not far from the truth.
広大な森の中のどこかに隠されていると噂される親父殿の隠し屋敷の地下牢に運び込まれている可能性もあるという。ここを脱出して外へ出ればそれもわかる。それを詮索するのはここから出てからでもいいだろうな。
その通りね。本当にごめんなさい。さっきから無駄な質問と詮索ばかりだわ。
いや、とても頼もしいよ。今後も何かに気づいたら教えてくれたまえ。ここを脱出する何かのヒントになるかもしれない。ルドルフからいつも聞かされていたよ。君の発想にはいつも驚かされ、時には重要なヒントにもなる。
You know, Cross isn't so bad when he's not being a jerk. I'm just saying.
君がここにいてくれたのは不幸中の幸いだ。
Like, these two adults here are actually not half bad. Like, I always knew Kyrie was great at, like, figuring things out, but together they're not half bad at figuring things out.
ありがとう。私もルドルフさんに聞いてるわ。クラウス兄さんは普段は威張っているけれど、いざという時は責任感にあふれる頼りがいのある兄だって。
さすがにそれは世辞が過ぎるね。くそ。それにしても頑丈な鉄格子だ。カノンの方はどうかね。
いいえ、こちらも全く。
Cross and Cannon tried wiggling the bars in various ways. There were a few bars that could be twisted, and a few had enough space to rattle a little bit around in, but they could not be broken with human strength alone. However, there was still hope if they could use some kind of lever-like tool. It was still far too early to give up yet. The children's lives were hanging in the balance. Even if there was no hope, they couldn't stop their struggle. And it was better for them to act this way. If they were to stop, there's no doubt that they'd once again be overcome by the grief of losing their loved ones and crouch down, clutching their knees. Better to give yourself something to do, to fill the time rather than do nothing.
何か見つかったかね。
握って隠せる程度の石ころは見つかるわ。こんなものでも武器にはなるかも。さすがに鉄格子を削り取ることは無理でしょうね。シャノンちゃんはどう？
いいえ、何も。あ、これ電話です。
繋がってるわけもないわ。
Well, don't just go doubting. Just try it out.
でもコードは何かを縛ったり武器にも使えるかも。壊して分解すれば金属部品を取り出せるわ。クラウス兄さん、鉄格子を開ける鍵穴はもちろんあるわよね。
ああ、だいぶ鍵穴の大きい大時代的なものだがね。針金のようなものでいじれば騙せるかもしれないな。
電話の金属部品で何か代用できるかもしれない。その電話武器になるわね。
投資と同じだよ。情報は武器だ。
Cross and Kyrie laughed together at how they hadn't once thought of using the phone as a mean of communication.
何やってんの、姉さん。
その電話。
Yeah, I know.
つながってるかな。
Do we not want to try it first?
バカだな、姉さんは。
あれ？
At this point, Shannon let out a small surprised cry.
キリエ様、この電話つながってます。
Really? Really? No? Oh. No one bothered to check. No one bothered to check it before going to the idea of busting it into pieces. Oh, that's great. I love it. Not that this is necessarily something that's going to help them get out, but still, that's humorous.
なんですって？
It was like when people move out of an office, taking everything with them, leaving only the telephone behind. That's the feeling the phone gave off, having been left in the corner of the cell. The cord was wound into a coil, the tip of it being swallowed up by the wall. And at a glance, it wouldn't seem surprising if it were connected. But to think that it was actually connected somewhere. Kyrie took the receiver from Shannon and pressed it to her ear. Certainly the electric hum of a phone was a familiar sound. And this phone was certainly live. Oh, I love this track. It's so much fun to listen to.
警察へ連絡しましょう。待ちたまえ。話が重すぎる。
Yeah, right?
盗聴されているんじゃないのかな。
そんな細工するくらいなら 普通は電話線を切
Yeah,
断するわ。
why do they care if it's bugged? It's not like they don't know that we're in here trying to find a way out. Like, why would that matter? What information are they gonna get? Oh, they want the police to come save them? Oh. Well, maybe we should, you know, not let that happen. Oh, wait, we already knew that.
連中が本気で見落とした可能性が高い。気づかれたら今度こそ電話線を切断されるかもしれないわ。警察への通報を盗聴されて何も困ることはないのだし。
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing you could really say that would be problematic. Surely that is true. The point of a wiretap is to overhear some important piece of information. But the way things are now, she cannot think of a single thing that would come up in a conversation to the outside world that could be troublesome to have heard. Kyrie instantly concluded that it was more likely to be a mistake on Kinzo's part than a trap.
確かに一部あります。外線は確か0番からだ。
カノン君、私は電話するからあなたは外の様子を伺ってくれる？誰かが近づいてくる気配があったら知らせて。
はい。
Hi, Big Eyes. Cannon raced off towards the iron bars, silencing his breathing, and strained his ears. As everyone present watched her, Kyrie dialed 110. I'm assuming that's Japanese 911? Let's take a look, shall we? Yep, 110. This is the number for calling the police in Japan. However, she pushed the hook down and redialed many times. It didn't seem to be working very well.
外線は0番から110番は0110じゃないの？うまくかからない。
貸し様へ、私がかけよう。
Cross took the receiver in Kyrie's place and tested various things. But in the end, they were unable to notify the police. The phone itself was definitely live, but the circuit was apparently cut somewhere. Did this mean that they were not so naive?
やっぱり無理ですか？
It's useless. It's all useless.
敵も甘くはないってことね。
I think I'll end up leaving it there. Not the greatest spot, but I'm going to anyway. I can't believe it. They like Shannon was like, I wonder if the phone's working, and everyone's like, baka. And then they're like, well, maybe we could rip the phone to pieces and use it to stab our torturers in the eyes. And then Shannon's like, hey, the phone's working, guys. No one wanted to check. Oh, I love Shannon. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for some more Umineko. Bye!